At a certain point, I was like, yeah, this is bullshit. Damn it. Here's Sam Fisher up in that
all of
bitch.
my video game training was like leading me to that moment. I've been waiting my whole life for this moment.
I demonstrated it in class. My teacher was
Mortified.
appalled / impressed.
It was a spider. She thought, I don't know, that I had stepped on a nail or something. Like, that's how I screamed.
Did you have surgery on your knee at some point?
I did. Yes, I did.
Did you blow
Check.
blow up an ACL?
I tore my meniscus.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, I was snowboarding. Well, I was in a snowboarding lesson with my mom. And it was the first time I'd ever done it. And like literally the first thing that the instructor said was, all right, everybody bend down and strap in your binding. So I just bent down and just instantly tore.
Wow.
And I just fall over and I'm like, and I'm like,
So
I can't get up. And my mom thinks I'm joking. She's like, come on, stop. And I'm like, no, like I seriously can't stand right now. And I'm in pain. And like next thing you know, I'm on a stretcher in the ER. I'm like, oh, you tore your meniscus.
okay, so that's basically a speed run
Yeah.
to a severe injury.
It was, yeah. But, you know, I guess I could have, like, there were signs that it was coming because it's very strange. For maybe a couple of years up until that point, every now and then when I would bend down, it would feel like my knee socket would pop out, like kind of get dislocated. And it was very painful, but I was always able to stand up and extend my leg until it popped back in, and then it was fine.
So you already had like a history of wibbly wobbly knee.
Yeah, but this time it would not pop back into place.
Yeah.
So then that was a big problem. I couldn't walk, and it was very painful.
Did you have to get one of those knee brace things?
No.
The ones that are like kind of a fixed angle or something?
Yes. Yeah, I had one of those, and I was on crutches. I came back to school the next day or two, and everyone was like, "What happened?" I'm like on crutches. I'm like, "Yeah, I just tried to do some crazy stuff on
Oh, of course, you're gonna be like, "Yeah, I was snowboarding. I blew out my knee." You know,
I couldn't
no
just
big
tell
deal.
them that I bent down in my lesson. It was so lame. I was already lame enough. I couldn't make my image any more lame. But it was wild because I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but tore my meniscus. It was one day in ROTC. We were doing PT and they were playing soccer or something. I'm just on the sidelines, sitting cross-legged with my crutches next to me. The bell rings and everyone just runs off to change, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to get up. So as I unfold my leg, it just pops back into place. And
So it had been in limbo that whole time, and then it just popped into feeling correct.
exactly. So like I basically, it was the first time in like a week that suddenly I could just walk. And I remember like first sergeant just looking at me like, you son of a, you were faking this whole time. I was like, no, I swear. Like I wasn't already on his shit list.
Oh man, I remember.
It was the weirdest thing.
Damn, I remember. I don't remember who it was, but we were doing something in ROTC. It was some sport, and somebody dislocated their hip.
Oh,
and I was like,
that's a crazy thing to happen to a high school kid.
yeah, but they were like, oh, this has happened before. Like, it's like once you dislocate a joint, it becomes easier to dislocate it in the future.
Right, true.
And he was just like, all right, I need you guys to like just one person do this, one person pull on this, one person twist this, whatever.
So he knew exactly how to handle it.
Yeah, like they just popped it back in.
Whoa.
And he was in a lot of pain, so I was just like, I'll take him back to the the space and get him squared away.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get to help somebody out, and I get to avoid physical activity.
Yeah, right. You're like, there's a partial self-interest here.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing.
But
anything to get out of physical.
That's gotta suck if you have a joint that just dislocates.
Yeah.
Because
that constantly.
My dad had a shoulder joint that would dislocate all the time. And at the time, the surgery that they did to correct that was to take one or more of the ligaments or tendons. I don't know which one, but I know which. I know what a ligament and a tendon is, and I know the difference between them. But
Yeah.
anyway, in the shoulder joint, basically shorten some of that connective tissue to have a consistent pressure of keeping the ball and socket joint pulled together. And at the time, that was like the standard procedure. But like so many things in medical history, it turned out that wasn't the best approach because that additional constant pressure on the joint caused the cartilage in the joint to wear out prematurely.
Right.
And he ended up having to get a artificial shoulder
Oh,
joint.
wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
Which was a long time ago, which was a real bummer because he loves golf.
Oh.
Like he was a caddy when he was younger, like I don't know, high school, college days, like summer job.
Yeah.
And he loved golfing. He had he golfed a lot, like because he was in sales. He was always like taking customers out golfing, clients, whatever.
So did that just completely put him out of commission, or can he still kind of?
He can't golf anymore.
Oh, that sucks.
It's a bummer.
That sucks. It'd be different if it's like, okay, you can still play. It's just a little different. You got to scale it down a bit, but he's done.
If I could get him set up with a full bionic arm replacement, I would be so stoked.
That would be cool
to go golfing with him.
I feel like your dad would be the type to like immediately say yes to that too.
I think he might consider it.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd have a lot of reservations.
Do you think your mom would be okay with it though?
I have no idea. I think she might have some reservations because she's
like, that's 10% of my husband that you're just chopping off, dude.
Yeah, and she's not the most trusting of medical professionals. Not to say that she's like, oh, like doctors always lie and they're trying to, convince you to get surgeries you don't need and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But more like doctors don't know, like, and unfortunately, to a degree, that's true.
Yeah.
Like if you're a doctor, part of maintaining your ability to practice is completing a certain amount of CME time, which is continuing medical education, every year. And then every, I don't know, 2 or 4 years, you have to like recertify for your boards. So doctors have a lot of pressure on them to stay current and up to date. But even then, like the doctors, they're working their asses off, they're constantly working. And so there's always new research. There's always cool new products, new devices on the market, new techniques. And if you're a doctor, you're busy doing work. You can't spend all your time staying up to date on the latest research, the latest studies. It's there's a balancing act.
Yeah.
And so based on my mom's experiences, I really can't blame her for taking that perspective, which is like, okay, she'll go to a doctor. She'll get a second opinion. She'll then take time. Like she's very intelligent. She can do her own research or consult with somebody who can help her, dial in like a few specific studies to compare and contrast and go, okay, here are the advantages and disadvantages for myself, not just, the bare bones bullet points the doctor gave me, but like analyze it for myself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, like you are really the only one that's going to do what you think is best for yourself. Because I think a lot of doctors, like you said, they are so busy that it seems like they kind of just go through the motions, with like, something's hurting. Oh, then it must be like they have training, right? And so they have like this blanket statement sort of, all right, if it's this, then it must be that. But that's not always the case. And it's like you're the only one that's going to do your own research, dig deeper to find out what the best solution for you is. I remember like my mom had all these issues popping up when, oddly enough, right after she got her vaccine, the COVID vax. Mm-hmm. And, she was super healthy before that, but then suddenly started getting all of these weird ailments that just didn't make any sense. That doctors, she went to like specialists and she saw like got so many different second and third opinions, and no one could really pinpoint exactly what was going on. And she just had to like take matters into her own hands, and she changed out everything in her house that she thought might be causing these problems. Like she had to change all of her cleaning solutions. She changed her bed sheets. Everything was hypoallergenic.
Probably she was dialing in like she was like, I have a chemical sensitivity.
Yeah.
I have to just cut back everything until I can figure out what's causing it.
Exactly. And it's like, I think they kind of narrowed it down to like an autoimmune disease or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's where a lot of symptoms were pointing towards. But,
there was never anything super conclusive diagnosis.
Exactly.
And that's so frustrating. Like for I have to imagine for both ends, like as a patient or as a medical care provider, to have to say, you know what, it's obvious, yes, there's a problem, and here's our best guess at what the problem is and what might be causing it. But because we can't say for sure what's causing it, we have to label it as idiopathic or, suspected immunological autoimmune problem or whatever.
Yeah.
But not being able to actually nail it down, because when you nail something down, like that gives you so many more definitive options for treatment. Like you have a pretty well-defined path usually. But when you're like, okay, best guess, it's this. Best guess, maybe it's being caused by this. It's obviously it sucks to have somebody tell you like they can't figure it out. But I have to imagine being on the other end of it is also frustrating, because doctors, I would expect the great majority of them are they genuinely want to help. I'm sure there are people out there who are medical professionals simply because it's good money or it was their career dream or whatever. But I like to believe that great majority of them are empathetic, caring, and they genuinely want to help people.
Oh yeah, I believe that too. But it's like, even if they have the best intentions and they still can't figure it out, it's like you kind of have to. You're sort of on your own at that point. There's only so much they can do. I mean, they're just a person too.
And that's a dangerous place to be, because I can say from experience, being on your own, like having a medical problem and being sort of on your own to try to figure it out yourself, can lead you to some very, very bad or just genuinely dangerous places.
Yeah, I mean, people have killed themselves, from trying just home remedies, something that they think is going to cure them or help. Yeah. And, I mean, there's all kinds of cases like that.
Yeah, I had a really memorable encounter with this guy in the past, working at a supplement store. And here's the thing. I actually use colloidal silver. So colloidal silver is really, just to make it very simple, silver dissolved in super pure water. And silver is good at killing bacteria and fungus and stuff. And so there's a lot of people who use it to try to fight infections or whatever. I use it as deodorant. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I think it's legit. Like, it's helpful stuff. But this guy came in to the store I was working at, and I think he had gotten bitten by a dog, and his leg was fucked up. It was like
he'd gotten bit that day.
No, like, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago.
Yeah.
It was infected. Like, there was pus coming out. Like, and I was pleading with the guy, like, please go to the hospital. Like, do you want to lose your leg or maybe just die?
Right.
Like, colloidal silver is not going to fix this. And he's like, well, they're going to give me antibiotics, and that's gonna mess up my gut microbiome. And I was like, bro, you can restore that. You can take a course of antibiotics and then go and put good bacteria in, eat some yogurt, take some probiotics afterwards. But if you don't go and get medical attention and emergency status,
way worse.
You're gonna lose that leg, or you're gonna be dead in a few days from sepsis.
Yeah, right.
And it was bizarre. I was pleading with him, please go to the ER.
And even after you said all that, he's probably just like, no.
He went and bought some colloidal silver, and he's like, I'm
Oh
gonna
my gosh.
take care of this.
It'd be interesting to follow up with it, like to have been able to follow up with that guy.
I really
He may not still be with us.
unless he just straight up like lost consciousness in public and was taken to a hospital. If he went home and was just trying to treat himself, like I really can't imagine that he survived.
He clearly wasn't married, because if he was married, any woman would have like forced him to go to the ER. Like, dude, you have to get that looked at. And he would never hear the end of it until she got him there.
Like even I'm not a medical professional, but I have seen a lot of stuff in medicine, and from the look of the guy's leg, he was going to have a good chance of losing it. Like even as it was that day, like it probably could have been salvaged, but it would have been very aggressive treatment, and it would have been a long recovery, and it still would have been like, yeah. Anyway, it just blew my mind. Like I was like bleeding with the guy, and he cared more about like, so that's my point, is somehow this person got into caring, thinking that the bacteria that live in their digestive system is so important that they don't want to risk taking antibiotics that will save their life or limb and or life, because it'll disrupt the balance of their gut bacteria.
Yeah.
And there was also probably, I'm totally guessing here, but a fair amount of denial, because sometimes when you
100%.
have radically just terrifying medical conditions, you can just kind of go into denial.
Yeah, I think everyone is either, I think there's an appropriate amount of concern that you should have for yourself, and I think people generally lean too far one way or another. Mm-hmm. Like someone might have like a cough, and they go on WebMD and they're like, I have cancer, they freak out, they're hypochondriacs or whatever. And then on the polar opposite side of that is, you could be bleeding out, like pints of blood, and be like, it's just a flesh wound. There's sort of a middle ground where you kind of have to, I don't know, think rationally about it and go, I probably should get this checked out.
All right. So question, if you see somebody, badly injured in public, what would you personally do? Like what would be your order of operations? Like to like, what are you going to do?
Well, that's so, give me some specifics here.
Okay. Somebody's
their leg blown off, you're like coughing up blood.
You're walking along the street, you see somebody laying on the sidewalk and they're coughing up blood, and there's people, standing around filming.
Yeah.
And you come up, are you going to just start filming as well? Are you going to do something about it?
I would definitely, no, I was going to say I'd definitely be one of those people. No, I would not.
but there's so many people who are.
Unfortunately, that is the case. But no, I think if I saw someone like that, I would try to figure out what was going on. If they were completely alone and that like nobody who they knew was with them, I mean, I would try to ask them, like, do you know what's happening to you? Like, do you have a condition? And based on what they say, if they're like, oh, this is normal. Like, I don't know. If they said like, this is normal for me, which I can't imagine them saying that, but I think I would probably, if there were other people around, I would say, has anyone called like an emergency? Has anyone called an ambulance for this guy?
Yeah.
Because if not, I'll probably do that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I would definitely do that. I could see myself doing that. If it was just like he's coughing up blood and it's like, this guy's hurting real bad, and who knows what could be going on.
So
I don't know what else I would do.
That's pretty much on the nose. Like if you come across somebody who's injured or in medical crisis and you ask them, do you need medical attention and they can't answer you, or
Yeah. That's a
whatever.
good sign that they probably need help.
Step one is just call 911, get dispatch to send EMS out.
Yeah.
And there's like
I'd call 911 on the people filming. I'd be like, arrest these dickholes. Help the guy first and then arrest these bitches.
You're still going to look for the video later.
Yeah, I probably would. Repost it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
But
have you ever seen someone who was like in dire need of medical attention and you were able to step in?
No, but as much as possible, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
I have a lot of first aid supplies.
Yeah.
And I try to stay like up to date on how to use them.
Right.
And basically if I did come across somebody who was having a medical emergency, the first thing that I would do, because I'm not in any way trained to evaluate their situation.
Right.
Other than the fact that I can tell they're in distress.
Yeah.
I can't say, oh, it's just, they had an asthma attack, or, they're having a pulmonary embolism. I just can tell they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I get the professionals on the way. And then in the meantime, if there's anything I can do to, help them be comfortable, or if they're, you have blood spurting out of you, I have the supplies to stop that.
Yeah. Even the shirt that you're wearing could help.
Yeah, no, I mean,
just tie it up.
So, but outside of that, I'm not qualified to attempt any kind of significant intervention.
Yeah.
I would just be like, number one priority is get the professionals coming.
Right.
And then do whatever I can to support them, and if there's blood flow, stop that.
Yeah.
If they're having trouble breathing, try to see if I can help them be in a position where it's easier to breathe.
Right.
Whatever. And then once the pros arrive, let them take over, do their thing.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's really the best you could do, I think. I fortunately have never been in that scenario. The closest I've ever gotten to it was at a baseball game. I was at a Dodger game with Mel and my dad, actually. It was just the three of us. And we're just sitting there, and we were kind of like at the very front of just the common section. And then there was a walkway in front of us that was separating us from the bougie first class section seats.
Okay.
Right? And remember, there was this couple that kind of went to the front, the bougie area, and they had 6 or 7 hot dogs, Dodger dogs, wrapped in foil and stuff. And they kind of put them down, and then at some point they just kind of took off, but they left all the hot dogs there.
Like a pyramid of hot dogs?
Yeah, like a pyramid of hot dogs, of Dodger dogs. And my dad and I were just like, what are they doing with those hot dogs? And we kind of considered just going up and grabbing them, because they had clearly left and were not coming back, and no one was picking them up.
Somebody's got to eat those dogs.
But there was a security guard, this older Mexican dude that was just kind of patrolling up and down right in front of us, and it was clearly a guarded off, you're a commoner, you can't come in the bougie section.
If you tried to go for those dogs, you're gonna get rejected.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. I felt like I was playing Splinter Cell or something. and at some point we kind of forget about the hot dogs, and it's we're watching the game, and suddenly there's this commotion that we hear off to the left, maybe 30, 35 seats down. We can not even see what's going on, but there's this commotion, and there's a group of people surrounding this one person that's we find out is having a seizure. And they already have medical professionals on the way.
Yeah.
And it's this whole thing. It's pandemonium. And the security guard has gone over to tend to that person. I see my opening. So I beeline it for the hot dogs. I grab a hot dog. I secure the bag. And I return safely, undetected. And got to enjoy a free hot dog.
I can see the Splinter Cell angle, because it's
yeah,
you stun a guard and then wait for another guard to go check them out, and then
Yeah.
you steal the thing while the guard's distracted.
It was like
You're Sam Fisher up
all
in
of,
that
all of
bitch.
my video game training was like leading me to that moment. I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. I shot my shot, dude, and then I come back and I felt really proud of myself. And like my dad and Mel are like, "Why'd you only grab one hot dog?" I only grabbed one.
There was a
There was a
stack
pile.
of them.
There was a pile. I freaked. You know, my training wasn't perfect. It was
Okay, you just got to practice.
Yeah, but I was like, I got one hot. I was like, neither of you ran for it. We'd have 0 hot dogs. If it
Who
weren't
ate
for
the
me.
hot dog? That's the
I
question.
think we split it.
Okay.
I think we kind of split it. Yeah, but yeah, I would not have acted that way had I been the only one there with the person having the seizure. I would have tended to them first, and then grabbed the hot dog.
What do you do if somebody's having a seizure?
Oof. Well, the only thing I know, and this is probably just from the movies, would be to like put a towel or a cloth or a shirt in their mouth so they don't like bite their tongue off. No, that's all Hollywood.
Don't put anything, especially your fingers.
Well, not fingers, but like a mouth to like if they're like clenching their jaw or something like that.
Yeah,
That's not a thing.
To my knowledge,
Okay.
that's not.
That's
really
just
a thing.
something that Hollywood invented.
Like, I don't know where that came from. It seems like a Hollywood thing.
But you've seen that,
I have,
right?
And
I'm not crazy.
and
Like that's a thing
right.
that's in movies and stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, the important thing is just to make sure their airway is clear.
Okay, yeah.
And it's pretty much just like make sure that they're not beating their head on the ground.
Oh yeah. That's
And
pretty obvious, yeah.
or if they're at risk of like flailing their limbs on the ground and damaging their hands or feet or whatever to try to keep immobilize those.
Right.
But just make sure they're not able to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
And they're because
Like if they're standing up, probably like help them lower to the ground so they don't just fall.
No, just catch them.
Oh, catch them when they fall.
Like I've seen somebody like just it kind of looks like they're fainting,
Right.
and somebody caught them
Yeah.
and then lowered them to the ground, and then the person was just having a seizure, so they just like put their hand under their head,
Right.
and just kept them stable.
Yeah, for sure.
And seizures are scary as hell, but they typically pass pretty quickly. And
Yeah. Man. Seizures are gnarly, dude.
I'm lucky.
Me too.
I never had a seizure, and
Same.
the crazy thing is if you have a seizure and there's not a really good reason for it, like you just got hit in the head with a baseball bat, okay, well, you just had a traumatic brain injury, so having a seizure is
normal,
not
pretty
unexpected.
par for the course. Yeah.
If you have unexplained seizures, you can lose your driver's license.
Oh right, yeah.
So glad that's never happened.
Definitely.
I don't know if my brain has enough power to muster to have a seizure.
Fortunately, we're both too weak to have a seizure. That's a silver lining. You actually had a bunch of stuff some like talking points and discussion topics that you wanted to.
Yeah, so I had a flashback to telling stories on the podcast.
Yeah, I'd like to bring that back actually.
And
I'm glad you brought that up.
I had a moment. I was thinking, I was remembering. My brain was like, I had some caffeine in me. My brain was going and working more than usual, and I was like, oh, I'm remembering things.
Yeah.
So
you want to do? Is it in order that you want to discuss these?
No particular order.
Okay. Well, it just makes it easy.
So you choose, and I'll run with it.
Let's just go down the line for now. Speed reading scam.
Okay, so when I was in 7th grade, 8th grade, I listened to radio a lot.
AM or FM?
AM during the daytime, FM at night.
Nice.
But believe it or not, Radio Disney.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Damn, that was like entertainment back then.
And the crazy thing is, like, the people who I used to hear on Radio Disney are now like ex celebrities, or they crash and burned, or some of
Yeah.
them made it. But
Sure.
anyway, I used to listen to the radio a lot, and somehow I came across like a radio. I don't. It was like an infomercial, but on the radio.
Okay.
And somehow I just got stuck listening to it, and it was all about like speed reading, basically.
Yeah.
And it was like, this revolutionary system will let you read like, a page a second. And I
Sure.
was like, that sounds pretty damn sexy.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, I think most people grow up, they're exposed to a lot of advertising, especially on TV. By the time they're, in their teens, they probably have some ability to figure out, okay, an infomercial is not something that I should get invested in.
Right.
I did not have that immunity from targeted.
Yeah.
The thing about the radio infomercial, it was like, it seemed like it was they made it seem like it was an actual radio show. Like they were presenting this cool thing that somebody had invented, and it was like, I fell for it. I totally fell for it.
Well, you were a kid.
And it was like $200 for I think it was like a set of 20 cassette tapes,
Okay.
because cassette tapes were a thing.
Yeah.
And it was like this whole guided lessons on how to do this speed reading technique,
Right.
which was called photo reading.
Photo reading. Yeah.
And I was like, I want this for my birthday. And my parents were like, are you sure about that? And I was
Parents
like,
knew.
yeah, they knew.
Yeah.
They knew.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I really wanted, like, it was almost like, I was like, this will be like a superpower. If I can do this and
Yeah.
make it work, it'll be like a superpower.
I mean, it'd be really cool. You could just absorb so much, and so like you'd be way ahead of the pack.
It was so appealing to me.
Of course. And it must have been a little bit conflicting with your parents too, because maybe deep down they knew, all right, there's something's off here. It could be a scam. It probably is a scam, but also it's like an educational scam. It's like, in the off chance this is legit, this would be really great for our son to be able to speed read.
I think they tried to.
It's not like it was some superficial, I don't know. There's a million other things that a parent would shut down before that.
I think they did try to reason with me and convince me that it was probably a waste of money and not legitimate, something along those lines.
Also, $200 back then is quite.
It was a lot,
much more than
it was
it is
so
now.
much. It was like $200 was like $2,000 today.
For sure.
Anyway, so for whatever reason, I was convinced. Somehow I convinced them that that's what I wanted for my birthday, and then I got it, and I was like all into it, and I was like practicing, and I got through, because cassette tapes are two-sided, so I got through, I don't know, 4 or 6 of the cassette tapes, and I kept trying to like make it work, and then I was just like, at a certain point I was like, yeah, this is bullshit. Damn it.
They got me.
Damn it. I was trying to make it work.
What even did they say? Like, what were they even trying to get you to do?
It was this thing where the whole idea is like you enter this focused meditative state, and you like look at the center. You look at the center of, like if you have a book open, you're looking at the center of each page for like a second or two, and then your brain is taking a photo,
just scanning it like a fax machine, or like a scanner.
Your brain is just taking a photo, and then your subconscious is going to just process all that information for
insane.
you, something like that.
That's so
insane. Where you could just like I could have a book and just be like, nah, and be absorbing all that information. And it was like, I wanted to do that so bad.
It's almost impressive that they were able to make 20 tapes of that much bullshit.
Yeah.
To even fill that much time.
I really
with
wonder.
absolute nonsense is pretty impressive. You should have kept those tapes. That would have been hilarious.
I wish I had. I really wish I had.
That would have been great.
I wonder, like, at some point they were just like, they they were in the recording studio. They got bored. They were out of material, and they just started dicking around. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. But that was a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
And that was unfortunate waste of my birthday money.
And it's one of the many times that, you have to just look your parents in the eye and go, you were right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it's got to be frustrating for parents.
Right again.
Because they're like, they try to tell you this is a mistake.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, I'm going to do this. And they're like, okay, well, you know what? We tried to make it so that you didn't have to learn this lesson the hard way, but clearly you have to learn this lesson the hard way. And that's not ideal, but you got to learn this lesson sometime. And it's better to learn it sooner than later. So
that's a good move.
We chose the hard way.
That's a good move that they let you fail. I think that's probably one of the hardest things about being a parent. I mean, I wouldn't know at all, but I would imagine just to like let your child fail so that they can learn lessons the hard way, instead of just like constantly coddling, constantly shielding them from just reality, real life.
Yeah.
That's got to be so tough. That's got to be so tough because it's your instinct to just protect them and to shield them from everything bad. But then you realize, like,
the bad things are coming, whether you're there or not.
Right. And at some point, you're not going to be there.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of setting them up for failure in a way.
Totally.
If you're just like putting them in a bubble the whole time.
So don't be a helicopter parent.
Right.
Let your kid fail.
Yeah. But also, like, if there is a real danger, like, step in,
Well, if they're playing around in front of trains, you don't want to let them fail.
Yeah. You'll learn this lesson the hard way when you have 2 limbs left, Johnny.
But
told you so.
There are certain things that people will call life lessons, and they are just literally the lessons that you have to learn by living life.
Right. And
if you're protected from all the opportunities to learn those lessons, you're gonna have a rough time in adulthood. So I'm glad that my parents sheltered me in a lot of ways, but I guess that's a good example of them going, you know what? You gotta learn what it's like to make a bad decision and have to live with the consequences, even though you were given every opportunity and warning that it was a bad decision. It was your decision. You made that decision. You own it.
Yeah. Yep.
And for some reason, remembering that made me remember a lot of things that happened around that time. So the next on my list was arguing with a science teacher. I think it was
in high school,
7th grade.
Okay.
I had this science teacher who was terrible. He was like, I want to say like a sports coach, like a sports teacher, or someone completely unsuited for the role who was like filling in.
A sports teacher?
Coach? I don't know.
He was a coach?
I don't know.
But he was a sports guy trying to teach science.
I think he was a sports guy. Anyway.
Yikes.
I remember maybe I don't know. Am I very pedantic? Do I insist on things being like exactly correct, or they're not worth anything?
Maybe sometimes, but I don't think it's that
okay.
bad.
Well,
you get a pass here.
I remember distinctly this person drawing diagrams on a chalkboard. H2O. They were talking about water, and they were trying to explain phase changes. So water evaporating, and the way that they drew it, they were like, okay, so you have these H2O molecules, they're all together as water, right? But then they change into a gas, and so what's happening there is the hydrogen and oxygen atoms are splitting off from each other, and they're both, so hydrogen is a gas, oxygen is a gas, so that's how water turns into gas. And I was like, that's completely wrong.
I don't even know. I don't remember anything from chem at all.
Okay.
You could have told me that and I'd be like, yeah, I was like nodding the whole time. I was like, yeah, that sounds right.
Is steam flammable?
No.
Because it's just water,
right?
H2O.
Yeah.
That's gone from being a liquid to a gas.
Right.
what he was describing is if you put if what he was describing was actually going to happen, if you put a pot of water on the stove and started boiling it, as it started boiling, it would just turn into a giant jet, like flame, like a jet flame coming out the top, because it would be hydrogen and oxygen coming out and then being.
Is that what happens?
No.
Oh. But I mean, no. If hydrogen and oxygen split in the way that he described,
that would be and I said, like, what you're talking about sounds like electrolysis, where if you put, two in, like a positive and negative charged piece of metal in water, and electrical current is flowing between them, one side will start collecting bubbles of hydrogen, one side will start collecting bubbles of oxygen, because you are splitting the water apart.
Yeah.
And I used to do that for fun.
Yeah.
And anyway, in class,
you did more experiments than the science teacher.
In class, sure. I never, to this day, I never like called out a teacher in class.
That was the only time.
I was like, he was basically telling the class, like, when water boils, it changes from H2O to just hydrogen and oxygen, and it turns into a gas. And I was like, that is totally wrong.
You didn't even say that sounds wrong. You just said you're wrong.
I was like, just
no.
I was just like, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
And he got so butthurt. He shut me down. Like, he shat all over me.
He's like, I can beat you up.
I went home and I went online. I found several sources, high quality sources, explaining the difference between phase change and electrolysis.
Don't tell me you printed it out and brought it to him.
I did.
Yes. That's awesome.
And then he got even more pissed. And I think
oh man,
what happened after that was, like, he went and got, like, the vice principal involved, or like somebody from like the school administration.
We need more adults on this case.
And then my parents got involved, and I was just like,
what?
Look, this dude is teaching stuff wrong. He's teaching wrong science.
Yeah.
And here's the proof that everything that he was saying about this particular thing was completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't want my classmates to learn this ass backwards wrongness.
This is amazing.
So I think I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think there was some intervention between my parents, administration, and this teacher that ended with a truce. Like, he didn't. I don't know if he ever retracted his.
He couldn't. As an adult, you can't retract that. You can't admit that you were wrong and a little kid was right.
Yeah.
Like, and also, like, if you're like a sports teacher or just like a grade school teacher, like, your life is already kind of rough.
Probably.
Like, that's like having one of your students, your like young ass students, call you out for not knowing your subject material is like the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
Of your mental sanity. It's like
probably
being the right one in class and having a little bit of power. It's like a bouncer at a club. That's all he has. That's the only part of his life that he has under control. And you threaten that, and he's a ghost, his shell of a human. He
definitely lashed out.
Doesn't have anything, dude. You took out the last pillar of just will to live that man had. That's amazing.
There was just no scientific rigor in that class. That was 7th grade. The next year, 8th grade, I had an amazing science teacher.
Yeah.
Who had a set of rules that he taught his class, and I actually was the reason for the creation of an entirely new rule. Like, because he'd been teaching a long time, so he had evolved, a set of rules that worked for corralling a classroom and making it work. At some point, I ate a Costco muffin for lunch. And then have you had the feeling like your stomach is upset and you're like, okay, I just need to burp and I'll feel better.
Yeah.
Well, I spent like 2 hours going, maybe if I just burp some more, I'll feel better.
Yeah.
And then I was in science class, and all of a sudden I was just like, I'm going to puke.
Oh, no.
And at the time, the rule was if you need to go to the bathroom, raise your hand, and then you can you do your thing, you like go to the bathroom. And I raised my hand for a while, and then
Didn't see it.
I guess not. And then I was like right in the middle of a row. So I was just like, the puke is coming. So I stood up, and I was gonna go for like a sink on the wall, and I made it like not even past the person next. I just puked on the person next to me.
You did not puke on the person.
Like
you puked
like on their leg.
Oh my God.
So
that's incredible. Was it a girl?
No.
Damn it. That would have been hilarious if it was a girl.
I would have been
like a girl that you had a crush on or something.
Oh, no.
That would have been the best.
Don't even make me imagine that. It was a guy who didn't deserve that puking, but he was a champ. He had a good spirit about it.
Oh, wow.
So after that incident, that teacher developed a new rule, which is if there's an emergency happening with your body, get up and handle it. You don't have to raise your hand and wait.
Good on him. Good on him for being flexible.
So over the summer, my parents had gotten me this cool like science camp thing that I got to go to, which was basically people who are passionate about science, and they get to go and like
kids, right?
show kids cool science stuff
okay.
for a few hours over the summer every day, or for a couple weeks, whatever. And I remember one of the things that they did was they made a pickle lamp, which I thought was badass.
So like instead of like a potato clock kind of thing?
Kind of. So what a pickle lamp is, do not try this at home. This is another one of many, many, many reasons why I should not be alive today.
Okay.
So you take an extension cord, you strip off the female side.
While it's plugged in?
No.
Okay.
No, I was smart enough to not do that.
Right.
So now you have two bare copper wires. You take each one of those. You obviously keep the insulation on the wires up till the ends.
The ends, yeah.
Wrap the ends around a couple of nails, and then you plunge each nail into
a pickle?
A pickle, one end of a pickle, and then you turn the lights off. You plug that baby in, and that pickle turns into a lamp.
Really?
Really. That pickle is glowing and smoking.
What?
And zapping.
That's pretty cool.
That was one of the things they demoed. I don't know if they actually specifically said that, this is very dangerous and you should not try it at home.
But been the first thing they said.
Somehow.
Did you recreate it?
I managed to get like a project that was like, show something to the class. Somehow I managed to keep it under wraps from everybody that's what my project was.
Whoa. So there was no like approval process. You didn't have to ask the teacher. And
somehow I kept it hidden from my parents that I was building a death device of such caliber.
Yeah. So you brought this to school?
I brought that to school.
Nice.
I demonstrated it in class. My teacher was
mortified,
appalled / impressed. and
it's like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. That's probably the
honestly,
thought.
If I was in his shoes, I would have been like,
I'm going to prison.
I could, yeah, this kid could die, and then
blood's on my hands.
Yeah,
I'm so screwed.
But fortunately, I had watched professionals doing it, and the thing is, it's really simple. You just put the positive and negative.
I like how you were like, "Don't try this at home," but it's really easy, and this is how to do it. You're literally
you just get a big pickle. You plug positive and negative into each end.
Yeah.
And then put it on like a secure stand so people can see it, but it's not going to like fall over or anything.
Yeah.
and you plug that bitch in. And then you stand there while it does its thing.
Yeah.
And then once it starts smoking, like pretty severely, you pull the plug out of the wall.
Did your teacher just like let you do the whole thing? He didn't stop you. He didn't interrupt you at any point.
No.
Wow. He's probably just in shock. Like just didn't know what to do.
Can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine it was anything other than like, this isn't possibly what it looks like. This couldn't possibly be. Oh my God, he's plugging it in. Oh no, it's happening.
You probably invented had schools invent way more rules than you realize.
Probably because
Like,
I'm pretty sure
there was some more rules.
I'm pretty
right
sure there
after
was
that.
like some approval process as a result of
Absolutely.
that for projects in the future.
Absolutely. You invented so many new rules in your time in school.
Yeah.
Dude, that is amazing. Because I mean, at that point, it's like if you're the teacher and you're seeing this unfold, you're kind of like, yeah, right. It's going through your head like, is this really happening? Is this really as bad as it looks like? And you're like, oh my God, it is. And at that point, it's like, do I step in? It's almost like a philosophical question. Like,
It's too dangerous to step in.
if I step in, I might ruin it, and then it's really my fault. Or if like,
or
I
you could
let
just
him-
die.
I
if you
might
touch it.
die. The kid might die. We might all die. Or maybe I just trust the process and let this kid do his thing. And once it's over, just then I can come to.
To some degree, he trusted that I was not completely insane.
Yeah.
That I
You were
knew
gonna start
something
whipping
about.
it around.
I knew something about what I was doing.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, that was inordinate. It was like in the 60s, in the 50s. That would be a normal thing to do. Like that would be an acceptable project.
Yeah. Sure.
Today,
In America, no.
no, you are in so much trouble for trying something like that.
Right.
So I was kind of in the sweet spot
Yeah.
in the early 2000s where it was like you could still let some sketchy things slide.
Sure. But you're the reason why we have so many laws, like protective laws and regulations now.
Probably, man, probably.
Whereas, like, outside of the U.S., if you go to like if you go to like India, that's just how they make electricity. It's just with pickles in every house. That's their go-to.
I mean, if you can make a potato clock or a lemon clock, you can probably make a pickle clock.
Yeah.
It's all about the pH of the thingy.
Right. That is kind of fun. That is a fun experiment, though. I would like to see that one day. Maybe I'll YouTube it later. We're not doing it in this house.
It smells really bad. It smells like burned. You've never smelled burned pickle?
Yeah. There's a reason
You're not
why.
missing out on anything.
Yeah. There's a reason
It
why we
doesn't
don't
smell good.
Charbroil our pickles.
Okay, so fast forward to are we speeding?
We've already been going for like almost an hour.
Oh,
It's crazy.
Jesus.
We've gotten through like 2 of your topics. It's crazy.
Okay.
We got time for one more though.
All right.
We could save the rest for the next one.
Okay. Okay. So, in high school, there was this one day. I think it was chemistry. The teacher took some magnesium ribbon and turned out the lights and lit it on fire, and it burns incredibly
I've seen that.
brightly.
Yeah, it's like blinding almost.
Yes. So at some point, I was like,
You were
I
into
want
it.
that.
You're feeling it.
I liberated some of that magnesium ribbon.
I think I almost remember you doing this for me.
Oh yeah, I probably did.
This is in high school.
Uh-huh.
I do remember you having some like lighting some magnesium. Like what the hell is that? I
Okay,
do remember this
yeah.
like very very briefly,
Okay,
faintly,
so
very faintly.
but yeah, that did happen.
Okay.
Anyway, I went camping at Kern River later, and I still had this magnesium ribbon because why not in my backpack. And my friends and I were screwing around by the river, and we were all clearing out. We wrapped up, and we were going back to our campsite. And then I was like, "Oh, I forgot I had my knife stuck in a tree, as you do.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, I got to go back. I got to grab my knife. It's stuck in this tree by the river. So I kind of run and sort of like hop down this little pathway towards the riverbank, and I jump right over a rattlesnake. Like as I'm jumping down to the riverbank, I just jump over it. I can hear it rattling.
Did you see it, or did you just
Yeah.
Oh, you saw
So
it.
I get down. I'm at least probably 6 feet away from it, and go find that tree, grab my knife out of it, and then I'm like, this is kind of the only path back up to the road.
Was the
from
snake
the
just
river.
chilling there? It wasn't.
Yeah, it
moving?
was just chilling like right in the middle of the path.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had it with me. I had this magnesium ribbon, and I was just like, in Jurassic Park, this dude weighs a flare at a T-Rex. So I'm going to try that.
Oh my god.
and
If I had known, if I was your science teacher and I had known that this happened to you, I would be terrified once you busted out the pickle lamp. I'd be like, this kid is going to kill us all.
So for some reason, I had a lighter and that magnesium ribbon with me. I didn't want to try to poke it with a stick. It was a rattlesnake.
Sure.
And it was blocking my path.
Poking it with the stick sounds way more reasonable than flashing magnesium on it.
I was like, well, here's the thing. Snakes are very they can sense heat. They have an organ that specifically allows them to sense heat. And I figured, okay, I'm not dealing with a fictional dinosaur here. Like
They can sense sticks too, though.
but they can sense the difference between like background temperature and body heat.
So were you?
So if they're sensitive enough to tell the difference between just ambient temperature and body heat,
Yeah.
if I'm waving something around that's like 2,000 degrees,
Yeah.
that's gonna
Trigger him.
it's gonna be like a very strong sensory
Some alarm in them is going to go
overload
off.
or something. Yeah, like
So you weren't going to touch them with it. You're just going to like
No.
put it near them.
no, just like meh,
Wave it.
yeah, which I did.
Like in Jurassic Park.
Exactly, and it worked.
It did?
That snake fucked off
Was it quick?
pretty quick, yeah.
Nice.
And I was like, I can't believe that worked. Ran back up the hill to rejoin my friends.
Did you have the magnesium on a stick?
No, it was
You were
just
just
like
holding it?
I was just holding it.
And did you just wave it in front of its face?
I didn't get like super close to it. I was like,
How close did you have to get to it?
say the snake is that bowl.
Yeah.
Um,
How close was your hand, or the closest part of your body?
probably like
Few
around here-ish.
Okay.
Like I was not getting
Super close.
dangerously close to
Yeah,
it.
within striking distance or something.
No, definitely
All right.
not.
I'm thinking like you're like a couple inches from its face, like some snake charmer. It's
I
like,
totally
dude.
I can see how you would imagine that. I totally get it.
Yeah.
No, I was just like, I'm gonna try this and see if it works.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other ways to get around this issue, but
Yeah.
I just want to see what happens.
Yeah.
It did not like burning magnesium near it,
Right.
and so it slithered away. And I was like, okay, my path is now unblocked, and I can
right.
go back to camping.
I got to bring some magnesium with me next time I go on a hike by my trail, because I have seen some snakes out there.
I don't think it's a good solution to rely on.
Probably not. And there's a lot of dryness up there, dry brush. I might start
Yeah,
a fire.
yeah. You could also do that.
Knowing me, I probably would. But I remember I was the last time I saw a snake on that trail. I was running down the mountain, just hiking, just kind of doing a light jog down the mountain, and it's rocky terrain. You've done it, and you kind of if you're jogging, you kind of have to be looking down, just looking where you're stepping. Otherwise, you could sprain your ankle or something.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of just looking down, doing this light jog, and out of nowhere, I just see in between my stride, as like I'm like mid-air almost in this run, I see a lizard run in between my legs, and right after it, a snake just hauling ass after it. Just time for lunch. Like
So you basically jumped over the snake.
Nat Geo 2 feet below my growing is just taking place, and it's so fast. I'm mid-run, like I'm just trying to process.
So you just got a snapshot of it.
Just a snapshot, and like by the time I like I screamed, and I jumped. I was like, ah!
So you feel
I look behind me, and they're already gone.
You feel about snakes the same way you do about spiders.
Well, no, I hate spiders more.
Oh, okay.
If a snake was like right there, I'd be like, whoa, okay, screw that thing. But if a spider was anywhere near me, I would flip out. I screamed this weekend.
Did you have a close encounter?
I did. Mel and I were leaving the house, and I opened the door first, and there was just a spider just chilling on the door sill and the doorway, and I screamed, and Mel just starts laughing her ass off when she realizes it was a spider. She thought, I don't know, that I had stepped on a nail or something. Like, that's how I screamed. And then I tried to kill it, but I think it got away. Yeah, dude, no, I don't mess with spiders. But yeah, I mean, there's like snakes. There are snakes up there that I do encounter from time to time, and that was a wild one.
I was out hiking one time and I found a big spider. I thought it was a tarantula. And I managed to catch it. And it turned out it was a trapdoor spider.
Oh, yeah. The ones that hide underground.
They make a little burrow, and then they make a little flappy door.
Yeah.
Where they just pop out and grab things.
Yeah, right.
And I gave it to my friend, and because I thought it was a tarantula, and he was like, "No, it built like a little hidey hole. It's a trapdoor spider."
Yeah.
Like,
little bunker.
Yeah.
Little bunker spider.
I thought it was cool.
He's a doomsday prepper.
It was a big spider. You would not have liked that spider.
No, definitely not. I remember when I was in Colombia, I was just hiking in Colombia, and I saw this a spider. It was a tarantula, and it was fighting with this what looked like a hornet type of wasp thing. And I was like filming, I was vlogging it, and once I posted the video, everyone was like, "That's not like a beetle. That's a tarantula hawk."
Yeah.
And I had never heard of a tarantula hawk.
Have you never seen a tarantula hawk?
I had never seen one. Never knew what it was.
Out here?
No.
I've seen them many times.
Really?
They have these bright crimson wings.
Yeah, yeah.
And they move fast. Like they can be on the ground.
Yeah, just bolt.
They can move surprisingly fast just on their feet.
Usain Molt,
But
yeah.
So you actually encountered in the wild a tarantula versus a tarantula hawk.
Yes, and the tarantula he had definitely lost. I didn't realize it at the time, but he was very still because he had already been paralyzed by the tarantula hawk.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, tarantula hawks basically they sting the tarantula, they paralyze them, and then they bring them back to their nest.
Yeah.
And then they lay their eggs inside of the tarantula because it's warm. It's better for incubation and stuff.
And it's moist.
And then
made of food.
It's moist. And then the eggs hatch within the spider while the spider is still alive, just paralyzed. And then the babies just eat their way out of the spider. It is the gnarliest.
That's pretty metal.
Gnarliest metal nature is metal moment thing that I've learned.
You saw that, but the crazy thing is you witnessed.
I saw part of that.
That's a Nat Geo. That's a Planet Earth status.
Yeah.
Battle, and you just happened to cross it while you're hiking.
Right. And I thought that the whole time I just thought, I was more scared of the tarantula than the tarantula hawk because I didn't know any better. And then afterwards, no, the tarantula hawk was definitely the one to be afraid of.
Because those things have a notably painful sting, like one of the most painful
That's
stings.
what I've heard, yeah.
So I'm glad you didn't tangle with it.
Unlike you, I did not have magnesium on me. I just had to jump over them. I literally just leapt over them because it was such a narrow path that I was on.
So we've both had experiences of dangerous animals on our path that we have to jump over.
Yes, near-death experiences, I would say.
I almost stepped on a baby rattlesnake once.
Oh.
Like in Arizona.
Yeah.
The camouflage on it was near perfect.
Dang.
And
too perfect. Too perfect where it risks being stepped on.
Right. And I don't know if I don't think it had developed a rattle yet or what, but somehow I spotted it and I didn't step on it. But it was a close one. And I could be wrong, but my understanding is that venomous snakes when they're young, they like an adult rattlesnake they can choose how much venom they hit you with. They can give you a quarter dose or like the full Monty.
Damn.
But juvenile venomous snakes, their default mode is just like
All in.
dump all the venom. So
Probably because they have less venom, right? So
probably,
just
yeah.
Just
so like
defense mechanism, like boom,
it makes sense.
yeah, unload all the rounds if you only got 3 in the chamber or something.
So
like that. Yeah.
so I have had a couple close calls with rattlesnakes.
Snakes don't mess around. The venomous ones.
Snakes
they're cool though. I like snakes.
they're cool.
They are pretty cool.
I just don't like the make you dead kind.
Yeah, no.
But like boa constrictors, or like people I handled I think it was a boa constrictor, somebody's pet snake.
Yeah.
And I was one of the few people who was like excited to be able to handle it.
Yeah, that's cool. Was it like mega big? Was it massive?
It wasn't super huge.
Okay.
It was just like, what's up? I'm a snake.
Yeah.
The funny thing about snakes is I guess I expected it to have sort of a rubberiness.
Uh-huh.
But it's like they're all muscle.
Yeah.
Like they're very
Yeah, just like a slab of meat.
yeah, they're
cold meat.
Their texture is the texture was unexpected. Like the texture of its flesh and the way that it, like, it was like, you can't just take a snake and like bend it. It'll bend however it wants to bend. You're not really in charge of that.
Right, exactly.
I thought that was
yeah.
cool.
I mean that makes sense because like most of our experience with snakes are like toy snakes, which are made of rubber. They always make them out of rubber.
Yeah.
Maybe they should start making them out of metal, like a toy snake. Would be more accurate.
I think they have Legos for that. If you want to destroy your parents' feet, you have like a metal snake that would hurt to step on.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be nearly as much to play with because the rubbery part is like 90% of the fun.
Exactly.
So if you want to
hit your brother with it or something,
yeah, you whip people with it. Obviously,
you do that with a metal snake, and it's a lawsuit. Someone's dying.
3D printed snakes, though.
3D printed snake would be cool
because
I've seen that can like articulate.
Yeah, I've seen them before where they're like
and stuff.
They're just a bunch of joints, and so they articulate.
Yeah, those are cool. You've seen like the wooden ones, right? Like the wooden wooden versions of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably more realistic than a rubber snake.
Yeah, but rubber snakes are great.
They're just fun.
You can whip people with them.
It's like a rubber chicken. It's like chickens don't feel like rubber, but I can't imagine any other material they should be made out of for toys.
Oh man!
All right, I think that's a good time to call it. Man, this is a quick hour.
It went fast.
Yeah, it did. Damn,
I got going on some stories and it was just over.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I'm glad that we're giving time for you to tell the stories at length, and we're not rushing it, and that we have more for next week.
Yeah,
because
definitely got more in the chamber.
There's definitely some good stuff on here. I can just tell. Sex in movies and books, stories from Papa John's, Jurassic Park at current. Oh wait, that was the one you mentioned. We got some good stuff in here still.
I may have I talked about Papa John's before on the podcast?
You have, but I don't know. I highly doubt you've told all the good stories. I know you have many.
There's definitely it's a deep grungy ditch.
Yeah, just like Papa John's pizza.
And with that,
thank you for watching. Super special, guys. Join the Discord. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And thank you for always rating us on whatever platforms you're watching or listening on. We will see you guys next week.
Looking forward to it. Later.